The forest was silent, except for the sound of Ethan's breath. He sat on one knee beside his small shuttle, trying to fix a broken panel. The ship's metal was warm from the sun, but the air was cool, carrying a strange sweet smell. Above him, the sky was not blue but deep purple, with 3 moons hanging like giant lanterns. It was beautiful, but Ethan was not here for sightseeing. If he could not fix the ship, he would be stuck on this strange planet forever. He tapped his wrench against the stubborn bolt, muttering under his breath, "Come on. Just turn." The bolt finally gave way, and he pulled the panel open. Inside, wires and circuits blinked in slow, weak light. He sighed, pulling out a toolkit. Then he froze. Somewhere in the trees, a sound rose. A soft, strange humming. It wasn't a bird. It wasn't the wind. And it wasn't his ship. It was steady, like a voice singing one note again and again. Ethan looked around, his skin prickling. The forest was glowing in places, tall plants with blue light in their leaves, mushrooms shining like small lanterns. On the ground, the humming was getting closer. He stood up slowly, setting the wrench down. "Hello?" he called, his voice echoing between the trees. No answer, but the humming stopped. Silence, then. From behind a cluster of silver trees, something moved. Ethan stepped back, heart pounding. A figure stepped into the open, tall and graceful. She had silver skin that caught the purple light, making her glow faintly. Her eyes were large and luminous, shifting between shades of blue and green. Her hair floated as if under water, strands moving in slow waves. Ethan could not tell if she was young or old. Her face was smooth, without lines, but her eyes looked ancient. She stopped a few steps away and stared at him. Then she tilted her head, frowning, when she spoke. Her voice was soft, but there was shock in it. "Wait, you breathe oxygen?" Ethan blinked, unsure if he had heard her right. "What?" The alien girl took a step closer, studying him with wide eyes. "Oxygen. You are breathing it." Without dying, Ethan gave a short, nervous laugh. "Of course I am. I'm human." Her eyes widened even more. "Human," she whispered, the word tasting strange in her mouth. "You shouldn't exist." Ethan felt a shiver run through him. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer right away, just walked around him in a slow circle, keeping a small distance. Her movements were fluid, almost like a dancer's. He could feel her eyes on him, as if she was trying to read the shape of his soul. Finally, she stopped in front of him. "My name is Lyra," she said. "I am from the Aurelus Dominion." Ethan nodded, though the name meant nothing to him. "Okay. Lyra, nice to meet you, I guess." Her gaze swept over his face, his hands, his chest as he breathed. "This planet. It is safe for you because it has oxygen in its air," she said slowly. "But for my kind, oxygen is poison." Ethan frowned. "Poison? You mean you can't breathe it?" Lyra shook her head. "My people breathe a mix of argon and helium. Oxygen burns us from the inside." Ethan glanced at his shuttle, wondering if he should start working again. But something about her tone kept him rooted to the spot. "Then why are you here?" he asked. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "I could ask you the same." She walked toward one of the glowing trees and touched it with her long fingers. Tiny sparks of light ran along the bark, as if the tree recognized her. "I did not come here by chance," she said, turning to look at him. "I was following a signal." Ethan's chest tightened. "What kind of signal?" She took out a small, glowing device from the folds of her silver clothing. It hummed softly, the same tone Ethan had heard earlier. "A life reading," she said. "One that should not exist." He felt the weight of her words settle on him. "You mean me?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Yes, you." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You are the first oxygen breather I have seen in my life." Ethan forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow. "Well, now you've met one." She didn't smile. Her eyes were fixed on the darkening forest. "You don't understand," she said quietly. "If others find out you are here, they will not greet you. They will erase you." Ethan's hands clenched at his sides. "Erase me?" Lyra looked at him for a long moment. then back to the trees. Above them, one of the three moons began to sink, casting longer shadows. Her voice was almost a whisper now. "They're coming." Ethan's heart was still racing. The forest felt darker now, the glowing plants giving off a dim, ghostly light. Lyra's silver skin caught the glow, making her look almost unreal. Like she belonged to another world entirely. She kept staring at him, as if he were a dangerous creature and a rare treasure at the same time. "Why are they coming?" Ethan asked, his voice tight. Lyra's head tilted, her glowing eyes locking on his. "Because oxygen breathers are a threat," she said. "That's ridiculous," Ethan muttered, trying to sound calm. "I'm just trying to fix my ship and leave." Lyra stepped closer, her bare feet making no sound on the soft forest floor. "You don't understand," she said, her tone sharper now. "In my galaxy, the story of your kind is told as a warning." She sat down on a flat rock, her hair floating in slow, smooth waves around her head. "There was a time when oxygen walkers ruled the stars," she continued. "They could live on worlds we could not. They could breathe in places where we would die." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "So, we were explorers?" Lyra shook her head slowly. "You were conquerors." Her words hung in the air like a shadow. Ethan almost laughed, but something in her voice made him stop. "That was centuries ago," she said, her voice softer now. "My people believed all oxygen breathers were gone, destroyed in the Great Purge." Ethan crossed his arms. "Well, surprise. I'm still here." Lyra didn't smile. "That is why you are in danger," she said. "The moment the Dominion learns you exist, they will send hunters." He remembered the humming sound from before, the way it had seemed to follow him. "You mean like those drones?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "They are called sentinel hunters," she said. "They are fast, silent, and programmed to erase life like yours without question." Ethan felt a cold knot form in his stomach. He glanced at his shuttle, small, damaged, and probably too slow to escape something called a hunter. Lyra stood again, walking toward him. "I can help you hide," she said. "But first, I need to know something." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "What?" She stopped right in front of him, her glowing eyes unblinking. "Is it true that humans can survive almost anywhere?" He hesitated. "I guess. Yeah, we adapt." Her eyes widened slightly, like she was confirming a dangerous secret. "Then the legends are true," she whispered. "That is why they fear you." Ethan stepped back. "This is crazy. I'm just a guy who crash-landed on the wrong planet." But Lyra shook her head. "Not to them," she said. "To them, you are a spark that could light a fire." The wind moved through the glowing leaves above them, carrying the faint hum of machines. Ethan looked up, feeling the hairs on his neck rise. "Tell me you hear that too," he said. Lyra's eyes flicked toward the sound, her calm mask slipping for the first time. "Yes," she said, her voice suddenly urgent. "They found us faster than I thought." Without warning, she grabbed his wrist, her grip strong and cold. "Run," she said, pulling him toward the deeper shadows of the forest. The hum grew louder, joined by a faint metallic clicking. Ethan didn't look back, but he could feel them closing in. Somewhere above, the purple sky was split by a streak of silver. Light. Lyra didn't slow, her voice low and sharp. "If you want to live, trust me." The hidden truth: they didn't stop running until the forest opened into a wide canyon. The ground here was made of dark, glassy rock, cracked like frozen lightning. In the middle of the canyon stood an ancient stone arch, half buried in the ground, covered in glowing blue symbols. Ethan slowed, catching his breath. "What is this place?" Lyra released his wrist and touched the side of the arch. "It is older than my people," she said, her voice quieter now. "Older than any world I know." The humming of the drones had faded, but Ethan didn't relax. He glanced back toward the forest, expecting silver shapes to emerge. Lyra's fingers traced the glowing symbols. "This," she said, "is where the stories say the first oxygen walkers passed through." Ethan frowned. "You mean humans?" Lyra's eyes lifted to his. In our records they are not called humans, she said. They are called the breath of fire. The name sent a shiver down his spine. Lyra continued. They could survive heat, cold, poison air, and crushing pressure. They could live where others could not even step. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. That doesn't sound like me. She shook her head. Maybe not now, she said. But long ago your kind were feared, Ethan. Stared at the arch, its blue light flickering like a heartbeat. So, what happened to us? Lyra's expression changed. A flicker of something between guilt and fear. There was a war, she said. Your people were winning. Her voice dropped lower. But then the Dominion built the purge engines. Ethan didn't like the sound of that. Engines? Lyra nodded slowly. They were machines that poisoned entire worlds with oxygen-rich storms so strong. Even you could not survive. Ethan blinked. Wait, you're saying oxygen killed humans? Lyra looked away. In the wrong amount. Yes, she said. Oxygen burns bright, and it burns fast. For a long moment, they stood in silence. The only sound the faint crackle from the glowing symbols. Ethan's mind raced. If what she said was true, someone in this galaxy had gone to great lengths to erase his kind. He turned toward her. So why save me? Lyra's eyes narrowed. Because maybe. Not all of us wanted you gone. Her words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Ethan stepped closer. You're saying there are others like you. Lyra's lips pressed into a thin line. Not many, she said, and none who would admit it out loud. She glanced back toward the forest. If the Dominion finds you, they will finish what they started. Ethan felt his pulse in his ears. Then we hide, he said. Lyra gave him a small, unreadable smile. No, she said softly. We run. Her gaze moved to the glowing arch. And maybe we go where even they will not follow. The canyon air grew colder, the blue light from the symbols flickering faster. Ethan had the strange feeling the arch was watching him, waiting. Above them, the purple sky rumbled, and a single silver drone appeared on the cliff edge, its many eyes glowing red. Lyra's voice was calm, but urgent. Step through the arch, Ethan. The chase begins. The red-eyed drone on the cliff tilted its head. A sharp metallic click echoed through the canyon, then it jumped, falling in complete silence. Its long silver legs folding and unfolding like a spider. It landed without a sound, its red eyes locked on Ethan. More shadows moved above. Ethan counted at least 5 more drones gathering on the ridges. Through the arch. Lyra's voice was firm now, no hint of choice. Ethan looked at the glowing symbols. Where does it go? Her silver hair floated around her head as she stepped toward him. I don't know, she said simply, but anywhere is better than here. The drone moved forward in a slow, deliberate walk. Its thin arms unfolded into long, needle-like weapons. Ethan's chest tightened. Does it talk? He asked, his voice shaky. Lyra's eyes didn't leave the machine. No, she said. It erases. A sudden hum filled the air, not from the drones, but from the arch. The symbols glowed brighter, the blue light turning almost white. A thin mist began to swirl in the open space within the arch. It was like looking into water that wasn't there. Ethan reached out and felt his hand push into something cold and soft, like fog made of silk. It's a portal, he breathed. Lyra grabbed his hand. Not just a portal, she said. A path between realities. The first drone broke into a run, its red eyes glowing brighter. Behind it, more drones leapt from the cliffs, their legs bending at impossible angles as they landed. Lyra pulled Ethan toward the arch. They won't follow if we cross, not because they can't, but because they're afraid. That word made Ethan stop for a fraction of a second. What could scare? Something like that. Lyra's eyes flashed. The place on the other side. The drones opened fire, but instead of bullets, thin streams of shimmering gas shot forward. The gas touched the rock and burned it instantly, leaving black scars Ethan didn't want to imagine what it would do to him. Lyra yanked him forward. Now. They stepped into the arch. The world bent around them. The canyon, the drones, the purple sky, all twisted into lines of light. It felt like falling and floating at the same time. Ethan's ears rang, his vision filled with streaks of blue and gold. He couldn't breathe. But not because there was no air. It was because the air was too heavy. Shapes moved in the light. Tall figures with no faces, watching them pass. He didn't know if they were alive or just echoes. Lyra's grip on his hand was the only thing keeping him grounded. Then, with a sound like a breath being released, they stumbled out the other side. Ethan fell to his knees on black sand. The sky here was green, split by a single bright line like a scar. In the distance, massive structures floated in the air, chained to the ground by cables as thick as trees. The air smelled metallic, and the horizon shimmered like liquid. Ethan coughed. "What is this place?" Lyra looked around, her expression unreadable. "A place even the Dominion will not go," she said, her voice dropped lower, "because if you stay here too long, it remembers you." Behind them, the arch still glowed, but now something was moving inside it. Not drones, something bigger. The betrayal. The black sand crunched under Ethan's boots. Every step left a glowing footprint that slowly faded. The sky's green light made everything look sick and unreal. In the distance, the floating structures groaned, their chains tightening and loosening as if they were alive. Lyra walked ahead without looking back. Her silver skin seemed dull here, as if the place was stealing her light. Ethan glanced at the arch behind them. Its glow had dimmed, but something was still moving. In its mist, the shape was too large to be a drone. He turned away quickly, his skin crawling. "Where are we going?" he asked. "To shelter," Lyra said without slowing. Her voice was calm, but different, clipped, focused, the kind of voice someone uses when they already know what will happen next. They reached a tall ridge of black rock. Lyra placed her hand on it, and the rock melted like wax, revealing a smooth silver door. Inside was a narrow chamber filled with glowing tubes, each one holding a floating, motionless figure. Ethan's breath caught. They weren't alien. They were human, men, women, even children, their eyes closed, skin pale under the greenish light. He stepped closer to one of the tubes, pressing his hand to the glass. This is impossible," he whispered. Lyra's voice was flat. "They are preserved." Ethan turned to her sharply. "You knew about this?" Lyra finally met his eyes. "Yes," her tone held no shame. "I brought you here because you belong." "Here," the words hit him harder than the chase had. "What do you mean, belong?" Lyra moved to a control panel beside one of the tubes, her fingers gliding over the glowing symbols. "You are rare," she said. "You are the first oxygen breather to appear in centuries, and the others, they must be kept hidden until the cave." "Right time." Ethan took a step back, his heart pounding. "This is a prison." Lyra tilted her head slightly. "No," she said. "This is protection." Ethan shook his head. "Protection means I can leave. This is a cage." Something shifted in her expression, not anger, not guilt, but calculation. She pressed one final symbol, and the silver door behind them slid shut, sealing with a soft hiss. Ethan spun toward it, then back to her. "Open." "It," he said, his voice low. Lyra didn't move. Her eyes glowed faintly in the strange green light. "Do you think I risked the Dominion's hunters for nothing?" she asked. "You are too important to lose." The floor beneath Ethan's feet began to vibrate. From the walls, thin silver arms unfolded, moving slowly toward him like mechanical vines. Ethan backed away, his mind racing. "Lyra, if you're protecting me, then why does this feel like a trap?" Her voice was calm, almost sad. "Because sometimes safety feels like a prison." One of the silver arms reached for his shoulder. Ethan grabbed it, yanking hard. It snapped with a metallic cry. Alarms began to echo in the chamber, the glowing tubes flashing red. Lyra's expression changed instantly, no longer calm, but sharp with urgency. "You fool," she hissed. "Now they will all wake." Behind the glass, the first humans. Eyes opened, and they were not human eyes, asterisk. The decision, the red light pulsed across the chamber. One by one, the tubes hissed open, letting out clouds of cold vapor. Ethan stepped back as the first figure inside stepped forward. It looked human. The shape, the skin, even the way it moved. But its eyes glowed faintly gold, and when it breathed, the air shimmered around its mouth. Lyra stood between Ethan and the waking figures. "Stay calm," she said, her voice low. "They remember what they were, but they are not like you." Ethan's fists clenched. "What does that mean?" She didn't answer. The second tube opened, then the third, until half the chamber was filled with these golden-eyed beings. They looked at Ethan the way a starving wolf looks at food. "Lyra," Ethan said carefully, "they're not here to protect me, are they?" Lyra's eyes flicked toward him. "They are what remains of the first oxygen breathers," she said. "But they changed." Ethan felt his chest tighten. "Changed how?" Her voice was steady but cold. "They can survive anything now, but they lost what made them human." One of the golden-eyed figures stepped closer, its voice like two people speaking at once. "You are fresh," it said slowly. Ethan's stomach turned. "What do you want from me?" The figure tilted its head. "Your breath." Lyra moved suddenly, putting herself between Ethan and the figures. She spoke in a language he couldn't understand. Sharp and fast, the golden-eyed being stopped moving, watching her. Then she turned back to Ethan. "You have a choice," she said. "You can stay here, be preserved like them, and maybe lose yourself. Or you can come with me and risk the Dominion finding you." Ethan stared at her. "That's not a choice. That's a death sentence either way." Lyra stepped closer, her voice low. "If you stay, you disappear slowly. If you leave, you might burn bright and short, but free." The chamber shook suddenly, dust falling from the ceiling. The golden-eyed beings hissed in unison, their voices a strange metallic echo. From above, a deep roar filled the air. Not the sound of drones, but something larger, heavier. Lyra looked up, her face pale. "They're here," she whispered. Ethan's mind raced. The silver door was still sealed. The golden-eyed beings were between him and the arch. Lyra's hand extended toward him. "Decide," she said, "now." The revelation, the ground split with a deafening crack. Black sand poured into the gap as if the planet itself was bleeding. From the hole, a massive shape began to rise. Not a drone, not a machine, but something in between. Its body was made of silver plates, but its eyes were human. The golden-eyed beings hissed louder, stepping back. Ethan's chest tightened. "What is that?" Lyra's voice was almost lost under the noise. "An archive warden," she said. "It guards the truth." The warden's gaze locked on Ethan when it spoke. Its voice was deep enough to shake the walls. "You are the last pure breath," it said. Ethan felt the weight of those words sink into him. What does that even mean? The warden moved closer. "It means you are not just human," it said. "You are the key to waking the rest." The golden-eyed beings hissed again. This time in fear, Lyra grabbed Ethan's arm. "We have to go," she urged. But Ethan didn't move. "What truth is it guarding?" he asked, his voice steady now. The warden leaned down, its human eyes locking with his. "That your kind were not from this galaxy," it said. "That you came here to escape something far worse." Ethan's blood ran cold. "Worse than the Dominion?" The warden nodded slowly. "They destroyed your first home, and they are coming here." The ceiling above them split open, green light flooding the chamber. The Dominion ships roared overhead, silver shapes slicing through the sky. Lyra's grip tightened. "If we stay, they will take you," she said. "If we run, we might find the others before they do." The warden stepped aside, revealing a new arch. Its light golden instead of blue. It pulsed like a heartbeat, calling to him. Ethan took one step toward it. The golden-eyed beings didn't follow. They just watched, their faces unreadable. Lyra looked at him, her voice almost a whisper. If you cross, there's no coming back. Ethan glanced between her and the warden. Then I guess I'm not coming back, he said. He stepped into the golden light, feeling it pull him forward. The last thing he heard was the warden's voice, low and certain. Remember this, humanity is not from here, but it will end here. Unless you change the story. And then the light swallowed him.